Hey guys. So first off, I apologize for looking like actual festering garbage. Uh, I filmed a video a few minutes ago of me like putting makeup on half my face just to show you it is easy to go from a 2 to an 8. I tried washing it off, but I only did it with like plain water and dish soap. I didn't actually use face wash. So, if I look a little freaky and I still got like eyeliner on my face, you know why. So this book right here, Wandering Star by Stephen J. Anderson, is a book that a friend gave to me, and his dad actually wrote it. And it's not a very well-known book, and it's pretty good considering how much I hate anything space related. Like, unless it's actual space, like canon, I guess, space. Things like, I love the Curiosity rover. I love fucking the science behind space. I hate space movies. I hate space books. I hated Star Wars. Like, don't come at me, okay? I hated Star Wars. I hated fucking Firefly. It's just the specific niche of things I do not like. That being said, this is actually a pretty good book. And I thought I would give my friend some promo and read the book for you. This book it's on Amazon. I know it's on Kindle. I have the digital version. You can also get paperback, which is really nice. Yeah, so I'm going to read the first chapter aloud for y'all. And yeah, let's get into it. Ted. Having your name repeated endlessly while alarms are sounding and lights are strobing is a disorienting way to wake up. I couldn't do anything about the lights or the sounds, but I could stop the voice repeating my name. I reached up and put my hand over Jake's mouth. Again? Jake moved my hand away from his face and pulled me into a sitting position on my bunk. Hole breach through both aft engine rooms. Next time, I'll just leave you here to suffocate. That's what you promised me last time. He tossed a pressure suit at me. Get tight. The sooner everyone is at the rally point, the sooner we can get back to sleep. I slid into the suit and checked valve settings and fittings. I made sure oxygen was flowing because I knew Captain Von Mueller would check, and I did not want to fail inspection again. Jake was waiting by the door with his helmet on but visor still open. I snapped his visor down for him with unnecessary force. Get tight. His voice came to me through my helmet. Get bent. Comm check good, I replied. We hustled down the passageway to the central lab, our usual rally point, unless it was affected by the current disaster. Von Mueller and his executive officer, Lieutenant Valena Copeland, were waiting for us. We were not last to arrive, which was good. Being the last to reach rally point was frowned upon. The Wandering Star was a small ship, her mass almost too light to use deep space holes. She carried a crew of 4 and could accommodate a technical team of 20, which the crew called passengers, when they were being nice about it. Our current team was just 9, but we were supposed to pick up additional members on our first and third stops. Hannah Weldon was the last to report, which was not unusual. This was Hannah's second hop, and she liked to play the old hand, choosing what to take seriously and what to let slide. She took her work seriously, but not the captain, and was certainly not his random middle-of-the-night safety drills. We stood by waiting for our captain's verdict. Star, he commanded, report. Response time from similar scenarios has improved 2%. Wandering Star's AI replied. Chance of all hands surviving at 85%. Von Mueller looked stricken, as he always did. The XO shook her head. The captain was on his 12th trip to the outer worlds, or maybe his 16th or 25th, depending on which version he was telling. Regardless of the number, each retelling of the Captain von Mueller story had the same moral: be prepared if you want to survive. A 15% chance that one of you is dead. That is unacceptable. For the next hour, he reminded us that each of us had beat the odds to join the Reunification Commission, which selected only the top 20% of applicants. And he detailed what death in space was like, gruesome, and what the odds of rescue were, 0. The captain was one of the best extemporaneous speakers I had ever heard. He told us that we were unsung, unrecognized, unappreciated heroes of mankind, and all he asked was that we help him keep us alive so our urgent work could be accomplished. Our jobs were hard and dangerous, and the people of Earth and the planets we worked to reunite might never know how we made their lives better, but we would know. By the time he had finished, we couldn't help but feel more patriotic, filled with the sense of purpose and pride in our mission. It would have sounded better at 1400 rather than 400, but damn, he was good. Side note, for those of you who aren't in the Army, don't have Army friends, don't know military time, 1400 would be noon plus 2, because 14, right? So noon plus 2 would be 2 p.m. So he's saying that the time to give this ideal would have been better at 2 p.m. rather than 4 a.m. 0400 is 4 a.m. At length, the XO leaned over and whispered something in his ear. The captain nodded and said, "All right then, you may resume your duties," which, right now, to me, was sleeping a couple more hours. He turned to Hannah. "Walk with me, Miss Weldon." Hannah, the XO, and von Mueller headed forward. Jake and I headed aft. Jake turned to me as he walked back to our quarters. "I don't know what the captain will do to Hannah, but I doubt it will change the way she behaves." There was real concern in his voice. "You care?" I looked at him. The warm lights of the passageway made him look more awake than I'm sure he felt. "You do care. I just don't want to see her get in trouble." "Have you even talked to her much?" I knew he hadn't. I knew I hadn't. We were 2 weeks out from Earth, and Hannah still seemed unapproachable to me. She was a little exotic, both in appearance and behavior. She was always on in our team meetings, always looking for a way to challenge what was being said or proposed. Being next to her felt like working on an electrical circuit without first making sure the breakers were off. We've talked a bit. It's hard not to ship on. It's hard not to on a ship this small. She's all right, and she's part of our team. I don't want to see any of us in trouble. Jake was walking next to me, staring at the deck under his feet. Was he trying to convince me or himself that his concern was for a fellow teammate? "Okay, but don't you get into trouble. Don't forget what happened with Deborah at the academy, or Jenna in 8th grade, or Libby in 5th grade. Libby, I never got in trouble with Libby in 5th grade. He finally looked up at me. I smiled. "Just shut up," he said. "Now we're even for you waking me up." Like I had a choice. I don't want you in trouble either. We reached our cabin, and I stripped off my pressure suit, dumped it in a pile on the floor, and collapsed it on my bunk. "Just don't wake me up anymore tonight." Jake consulted his watch. "Not for 45 minutes. Shit. Well said." Jake developed a sudden interest in cross-training in Hannah's mission, specialty of linguistics. I've seen him like this before, like a puppy chasing after rabbits. I tried to warn him that this particular rabbit could probably eat him in one bite. He ignored me and followed her around the ship, helping her do things she didn't need any help doing, sat next to her at meals, every meal, and otherwise made a nuisance of himself. I expected it to end badly. Either she'd get tired of it and crush him, or worse, the captain or our technical team lead would hear of it. I considered warning him again as his friend, but I'd known Jake since we were 8, and he and Libby did get in trouble in the 5th grade. Jake was at least smart enough to know that if anyone suspected his new infatuation, the consequences would include extra duty, loss of pay, or getting a trip home at his own expense. Not that any of those fears diminished the longing in his eyes when he was with Hannah. I was worried the extra thrill of it might be making things worse. Friendship on board was encouraged. Team building or anything to improve morale was great. Going beyond that was forbidden by the terms of our Reunification Commission contract. RUCOM believed that a failed romance was bad for efficiency of the team. So, once again, it was up to me to keep him safe. As a shield to defray suspicion, I had the dubious pleasure to cross-train Hannah and Jake on genealogy, my mission specialty, while Jake and I learned linguistics. Jake was supposed to cross-train us on biology, but he always seemed preoccupied when Hannah was in there with us. I think my real function was to help him help her do things she didn't need help doing. I also sat with them at meals, every meal, listening to him flirt with her and occasionally her flirting back with him. Her banter was sharper than his. She had a quick mind and the ability to find his weaknesses. It was hard to watch him take the abuse and be too dense to even realize it. I was sitting with Hannah while Jake made his way through the chow line at breakfast, 4 weeks out from Earth, 2 weeks into their convert relationship, and only 1 week from our first planetfall on Dulciana. When Jake joined us, he was looking sleep-deprived. Hannah looked alert as usual, working on a pile of scrambled eggs. I've got to get more sleep. Jake sat heavily on the table. He sipped his coffee, wincing at the heat on his tongue. Hannah doesn't seem tired, I noted. Try to be more like Hannah. I never sleep. Hannah stabbed aggressively at her eggs. She maintained eye contact with Jake while she put them in her mouth and swallowed. Sleep is for children and the dead. I have too much to do. Perhaps you aren't doing anything exhausting enough, Jake challenged her. You seem to be. Perhaps you need to work on your stamina. I'd love to. Maybe you could help me by... I kicked him under the table to shut him up while the XO walked by. This also had the unfortunate side effect of drawing Hannah's attention to me. What about you, Ted? You getting enough sleep? No. Jake makes too much noise when he comes in late, I paused. And he snores. Really? She looked at him. Eyes narrowed, as though evaluating him for some future task she had in mind. She turned back to her eggs. I pushed the potatoes around on my plate with my fork, added more salsa, and shoved them around some more. This was going to get out of control, if it wasn't already. I gave up on the potatoes after another couple of bites and pushed them away from the table. I'm going back to our cabin to get some things. I'll see you in the lab in a few minutes and we can look at some more geomorphology examples this morning. And this afternoon, more on linguistic drift, Hannah added. This time, Jake, pay closer attention to the way my mouth forms the vowels. Up here, she tapped his lips. I sighed, dumping my tray in the recycler, and walked back into the cabin. I was still gathering some printouts when Jake came in, happily humming to himself. You need to be more careful. You and Hannah both. About what? You know, Wandering Star watches everything that happens, right? Yeah, she can't report anything, though. It's in our contract. Almost true, Mr. Barton. Star sounded sad, a little frustration in her normally calm, sweet voice. I can't report anything to your team lead unless it endangers myself or our mission. You and Miss Weldon haven't yet crossed that line, but I would hate to see you go, as many before you have gone. How many? That's right, Jake, I thought to myself. Bait the damn ship that sees everything you do. Our main screen illuminated with the flickering images of a dozen or more smiling young men and women whose careers in RUCOM had been cut cruelly short. Captain Von Mueller and Lieutenant Copeland are the finest officers I have ever served, Star continued, pride now in her voice. I will protect them and the RUCOM mission. It's why I exist. I glanced at my watch. We have places to be. Jake joined me as we walked out in passive joy. Later, Star. I will always be with you. Have a good day, gentlemen. I looked over at Jake as he walked along next to me. That was stupid. You worry too much. That's because I'm wearing furry 2 now. I'd say 3, but I'm not sure Hannah knows how to worry. I like that about her. Jake, I'm gonna miss you when you're gone. What is with you, Ted? He stopped and turned towards me. We've always pushed the rules, all through school and everywhere else. Does Star actually have you scared? He took a step towards me. Or are you jealous? Of you and Hannah? Yeah, no. More like you and Hannah are actually scaring me. You've had a lot of fun and pushed more boundaries than I can remember, with me usually saving your ass. But how am I supposed to protect you from... I gestured at the ceiling where Star was certainly watching and listening. Don't you think that this is different? I walked to grab him by the shoulders and shake him. I get that you're different. I'm not... I stopped as Angela Dawkins came around the corner. She's an older woman, hair starting to gray, with a perpetual look of disapproval on her face. She had spent her entire career in RUCOM and was the lead of our technical team, the lab manager and acting senior engineer. Angela stopped next to us and looked up at me from a 15-centimeter disadvantage. Theodore, Jake, are you gentlemen planning on getting any work done today? All day, every day, Jake replied. There was still some heat in his voice from our interrupted argument, enough to get a raised eyebrow from Angela. Yes, ma'am, we're right behind you, I added. Angela nodded, still suspicious, and proceeded us towards the main lab. We followed at a distance. Suck up, Jake whispered to me. I whispered back, yeah, that's how I plan on keeping you from a zero-expense paid trip back to Earth. You should be thanking me. Jake snorted, not likely. We entered the main lab. The walls and ceiling were covered in a dark, sound-absorbing material. Dim lights, white noise from the ventilation system, and the glow of display screens gave this space a serene, serious feel, separate from the sterility of the rest of the ship. It felt like refuge and always had a calming effect on me. I hoped it would have the same effect on Jake this morning. Hannah was already in the sim lab, of course. She was sitting on one of the tables next to a tray of core samples, legs swinging in the air, looking pleased with herself. My geomorphology simulation was already running, shimmering in the display tank. I had protected the geoism file, but apparently not well enough. Annoyed or impressed? I'm not sure which I felt. I decided it was some of both. It was only a geoism after all. But what else of mine had she gotten into? I looked at her sitting there, daring me to say something, defiant amusement playing on her brown eyes, and one lock of dark hair spilling across her face. I decided to let it go for now and spend the evening encrypting my whole damn file system. Barn doors and horses, probably. Since you two are running late, I decided to set up the sim for you. She smiled, an innocent smile. Thanks. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. I smiled back at her. Are you ready to get to work? Born ready. Hannah slid off the table and walked to the display tank, Jake following close behind her. We'll watch this several more times, but pay attention. Jake and Hannah leaned in, Jake taking the opportunity to press up against her. I placed the simulation in motion. This is the city of Palma Sola on Dulciana. Jake looked at the expansive open ocean displayed in the tank. This is where we'll be staying the next couple of weeks? Star told us there would be beaches and dry land. Hannah pushed him away to open up some space so she could whack him gently on the back of the head. I think this might be a few years ago. Pay attention. I added, and it's the middle of winter in Palma Sola now, so don't get your hopes up from warm sand and bare skin. Damn. Maybe you were expecting this. I switched to Palma Sola's current topography, showing a city built along a large bay, a large curve of beach, and tall white cliffs on the northern shore. The goal is for you to be able to see this as it is today and be able to visualize the open ocean in the first view and understand the process that we're incurring in deep time that would form white cliffs and sandy beaches millions of years later. What I want you to get out of this is to be able to see what's beneath the surface, both what you're standing on and how this moment in time is just part of the past and the future. Do it. Hannah waved at the display. Make it go again. Jake's face wore an expression I'd seen many times sitting next to him in class. I meant, okay, I'll watch and I might learn something, but I don't really care. I reset the simulation and tried to cover a semester's worth of material in 4 hours. At least Jake might see Palmasola as something other than Dulciana's beautiful city on the bay. Hannah seemed to be getting most of it, asking good questions and seeing the bigger picture. We broke for lunch before moving to linguistics for the afternoon. Can we do that for each of the planets on this hop? Hannah asked between bites of salad. I want to not just see the dirt, but what's underneath and how it got that way. We can do it for Dulciana and Malapert, but stop number 2 on Clevis is complete unknown. If there were any of the records of its genealogy, they were lost long ago. I'll take another look to see if there's anything to build on. Jake asked Hannah, so how does this help you understand the languages of the people that live there? She took another bite and tipped her head, thinking, I don't know yet. Language is used to describe the world around us, so maybe it's the physical geography formed. Maybe how the physical geography formed and evolves affects our language. Her statement ended with a question. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. After a moment, she said, maybe it's like with names. Names? I asked. Sure. Names come and go in popularity. If someone becomes famous, the name will become popular and there'll be a bunch of kids running around with that name for generations. Or someone will become infamous and the name will die with them. When's the last time you heard of anyone named Robert? She shuddered, remembering the heinous crimes committed a century ago. Knowing the history and meaning of names can help us understand who we are, too. The same as the language we use. So, where does your name come from? A statue of Hannah Duston near where I grew up. She was famous 800 years ago, and here I am still carrying her name. She smiled, as if it confirmed her point. Jake and I had finished eating and was scanning Hannah's and my plate for potential leftovers to poach. I quickly finished the last of my food. You know how you could go back for more if you're still hungry? Jake glanced at his watch. No, there's really not enough time. He examined what was left of Hannah salad and included several non-earth plants, some of which were purplish and full of little air pockets that tasted salty when they popped. Hannah moved her bowl and put a protective arm around it. Mine, and you can keep it. You need to be more adventurous. She took a last bite. Just not from my bowl. I'm willing to learn. I bet you are. Give me a student who is humble and enthusiastic. That's me. And obedient. Jake and Hannah's noses were about a centimeter apart at this point. Jake was holding her gaze, but losing, he pulled back. Well, 2 out of 3, maybe. Jake smiled. 60% is still a D. I've had worse. Have you had better? Hannah asked defiantly. Jake looked around at the mess before replying to see who might be able to hear him. Maybe we should discuss performance issues privately. Okay, my cabin. 1900 hours. Hannah stood and picked up her tray. Are you two ready? It's time. We returned to the main lab where I quickly discovered that language is a lot harder when you have to think about it. I don't speak with an accent, or at least that's what I thought when I woke up. To Hannah, all of us have an accent. She correctly placed Jake and me at the southern Rocky Mountains of North America based on different vowel sounds in bite and boat. Listen closely and I'll show you the difference. Bite, bite, bite. Which one do you say? I looked at her blankly. They all sounded the same to me. The third one, Jake replied. I thought Jake was guessing, but Hannah smiled at him like her favorite dog had just learned a new trick. That's right, let's try this one. Metal, metal, metal. First one, Jake smiled at me, his idiot friend. All the same to me, I sighed. Try watching my mouth while I say each word. Home, home, home. I watched her lips. It didn't help. I felt like saying, maybe it's just getting them right because you spent so much time in close contact with your lips. But it sounded petty even in my head. I usually catch on to new things quickly, but this was baffling to me. Watching the two of them batting words back and forth and giggling at incomprehensible subtleties was irritating. It was soon apparent that Jake had forgotten that I was even there, and I about had enough. Okay, guys, so that is about halfway through chapter 1, and if you would like more, comment down below, or you can check out the book on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description below. It comes in both paperback and the digital versions that you can read on your tablet or phone, which is cool. Or you can comment down below and I'll read the rest of the chapter. I just didn't want to read past 30 minutes just because, I don't know, I don't want to record for longer than 30 minutes because it takes fucking forever to upload. So, yeah, I hope you'd enjoyed. This is what the cover looks like. It should look about the same on all of them. There are 2 after this. This is actually a 3-book series, so it's a trilogy. This is how far I've actually gotten in this one. I'm not even done yet because, I have kids and I'm busy all the time. So, I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope you had fun. And, yeah, I will see y'all on a Tuesday or a Thursday. Adios. Press the damn button, Allie.